we are going to talk about two different things today, okay? The first thing is a continuation from what we did yesterday with GCF. The second thing is just factoring, taking an equation and breaking it down into what multiplies to get it there. So the first thing we have to know are some vocabulary words. So the first vocabulary word is a factor. What are factors? Factors are the terms multiplied together. So what I'm multiplying are my factors. Okay. The second set of vocabulary words is easiest to see from a picture, and you don't need a big one. You just need a graph with a parabola on it. And on this parabola, there are 2 points that we always talk about, and it's these 2 points right here. What are these 2 points called? What's the most generic term we use? X-intercepts. There are 3 other words that mean x-intercepts, and you have to know all of them. So another word would be roots. Does anybody know another one by chance? Zeros and solutions. All these words mean the same thing. They all mean where my parabola touches the x-axis. So on a test, if I ask you, what are the roots? You have to know that I'm asking you, what are the x-intercepts? Where does it touch the parabola on the x-axis? If you raise your hand during a test and you ask me what those vocabulary words mean, I'm going to walk away because you have to know them, okay? The next thing we need to talk about is the difference between factoring and solving, or factor and solve. You're just going to be given a problem and you have to determine if you factor or if you solve. Your directions aren't going to tell you. So how do I know if I factor something? If I factor something, I'm just giving my answer in things that multiply together. This is what my answer will look like. If I am solving, my answer has to have a letter equals number. For example, x equals 4, z equals -2, a equals 1. So the difference between factor and solving. Now, when you are looking at a problem, how can I tell if I'm factoring or solving? If my answer needs an equal sign, my problem has to have an equal sign. So, does this problem have an equal sign? So am I factoring or solving? I'm solving. What am I doing here? Factoring. There's no equal sign. What am I doing here? Solving. What am I doing here? Solving. Here? Factoring. You see how to tell the difference? Okay, that's your responsibility to make sure you know how to tell the difference. So before we do any problems, let's write our steps down so you have organized steps. So step number 1, you need to determine factor or solve. You have to know that before you even begin the problem. Am I factoring or am I solving? Okay. Number 2, you need to ask, is there a GCF? And if so, you need to take it out. Number 3, you're going to make an eye chart. I'll show you what that is whenever we do our examples. You're going to make an eye chart. Number 4, you factor. And number 5, you solve if needed, meaning If it had an equal sign, I solve it. Okay. So the last notes we're going to take, then we'll go do our problems together. Your equations will be given to you. Rewind. You will have to make sure your equations are in standard form. What does standard form mean? Nobody remembers what standard form means from our last unit. Yikes, there's y'all. You're close. It does have to do with A, B, and C, so it has to be in order. AX squared plus BX plus C. Your problems need to be in standard form. If you need to write that, then write that this is standard form. Okay. My eye chart literally looks like a big capital I. If it is in standard form, your eye chart is easy to make because your eye chart will go backwards, meaning the letter C will be at the top and the letter B will be at the bottom. B bottom, okay? The letter C is what we use to multiply, and I know it's not making sense right now. It will in just a minute. The letter B is add or subtract. That's all you can do. Multiply at the top, add or subtract at the bottom. Okay? So let's go do, we're going to do about 3 or 4 problems together. Everybody get that down? Why not? Write faster, hurry up. Write faster, hurry up. No, you speed up there. All right, so let's do our first problem. Our first example is going to say x squared minus 5x minus 14. So first step, am I factoring or am I solving? I'm factoring. I'm going to put, you can put it wherever you want, but I know I'm factoring. That's what I'm going to put, which means my answer has to be in parentheses touching each other. Mateo, wake up, please. Okay. Is there a GCF? Can I divide these 3 terms by anything? Nope. Then I'm going to go make an eye chart. It doesn't have to be big. And in my eye chart, I'm going to work backwards. So negative 14 is at the top and negative 5 is at the bottom. Now remember, my negative 14 is what has to multiply. So in my eye chart, I need numbers that multiply to 14. Don't worry about the negative right now. We'll take care of that in a minute. So I'm going to have 1 times 14. What else gives me 14? 2 times 7. Anything else? That's it, right? So then my eye chart's finished. Now, I have to pick numbers from my eye chart. And y'all, when I say pick numbers, I mean they have to go together. I can't pick random numbers. So I can only use 1 and 14 or 2 and 7. And I'm going to have to add or subtract to get to the number negative 5. So can 1 and 14 give me 5? No. Can 2 and 7 give me a negative 5? Yes. How? 2 minus 7 will give me a negative 5. Okay, so we're going to add negative signs in our charts. Now, check, quick check. Does positive 2 times negative 7 give me a negative 14? Yes, then I'm good to go. If you said no, that means you picked the wrong numbers. Okay, so these are the numbers that I'm going to use, a positive 2 and a negative 7. So how do I write it? Parentheses x, and since I have a positive 2, we'll say plus 2. And then My second parentheses will say x, and since I have a -7, it'll say -7. Those parentheses better be touching or it's wrong, okay? Since I am factoring, I'm leaving it in parentheses, so this would be my final answer. Let's go to another one. I'm going to say x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. So first question, am I factoring or solving? I'm solving. What told me I was solving? That equal sign. So that means my answer better say letter equals number. Next question, is there a GCF? No GCF. So then I go make myself an eye chart. What number is going to go on top? It works backwards. So +3 on top. What number's on bottom? -4. What's the only thing that gives me a 3? 1 times 3. So I know I have to use a 1 and a 3. How can I get a -4? You what? 1 subtract 3? That doesn't give me a -4. -1 and a -3, right? Gives me a -4. So let's go put it in my parentheses. What's my first parenthesis going to say? X minus 1. What's my second parenthesis going to say? X minus 3 equals 0. So this right here, if you want to make notes, this is my factors, but I'm not stopping there because I have to solve it. You have to take every individual thing and set it equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0. My first parenthesis equals 0. And my second parenthesis, x minus 3 equals 0. So now we have to solve. How do I get rid of a -1? Gonna add 1 to both sides. So x equals 1. And I'm gonna add 3 to both sides. So x equals 3. So x equals 1 and x equals 3. These, when I solve, are my x-intercepts, my roots, my zeros, my solutions. So these right here are my x-intercepts, which means if I were to draw a graph, where would my parabola cross? At what numbers? At a +1 and a +3. That's what we're figuring out. Where are my x-intercepts? We ready to keep going? We're going to keep practicing some. All right, ready? 3x squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. No? I could make it equal 5, and if it equaled 5, what would you have to do with that 5? Make it equal 0, so you'd have to move it, right? To the other side. You have to make it say equals 0. Yes, is that your question? Okay. First question, am I factoring or solving? I'm solving, very good. Second question, is there a GCF? What is it? My GCF is 3. So just like we did in the warm-up, I'm going to divide every single thing by 3. So 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared. 3x divided by 3 is x, and -18 divided by 3 is -6. In parentheses, and what goes in front of it? My GCF. It still has to equal 0 because I'm solving. So now, just looking inside my parentheses, I need to make an eye chart because I have an x squared, an x, and a number. What number's at the top? -6. What number's at the bottom? 1. No letters go over here, just numbers. So what can I multiply to get 6? 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. How can I get a positive 1? If I use a -3, what's 2 minus 3? That's a -1. So how do I get a positive 1? The 2 has to be negative. Very good. So now I have parentheses. What's in my first parentheses? X minus 2. What's in my second parentheses? X plus 3 equals 0. GCF has to stay in front. This right here is called my factors because everything's in their parentheses. But now we have to solve. And listen, this is what you're going to forget. Everything has to be set equal to 0. Everything. My GCF has to be set equal to 0 because at some point your GCF's going to be a letter and you have to solve for it, okay? Then I'm going to have x minus 2 equals 0 and I'm going to have x plus 3 equals 0. Now, y'all, can 3 equal 0? Does that make any sense? Then cross it out. That's not part of my answer. X minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So x equals 2. X plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides. So x equals -3. What are these? X equals 2 and x equals 3. What are those called? Roots. What else are they called? Solutions. What else? X-intercepts. One more word. Zeros. Okay. Questions? Okay, then here's what I want you to do today. In Schoology, there's no class kick for Unit 5. Schoology, Unit 5, under the practice folder, you are in assignment number 2, and I want you working on level 1 and level 2. Those are the 2 things I want you working on today. You can do probably about 6 from each section, okay? If you are in my classroom, the paper is on your desk. If you'd like to use it instead of your computer, just don't write on it. The one with pink is your answer key. There's only one answer key per table, so you'll have to share and pass it around, okay? The other ones are the worksheets you may use to look at, but do not write on them. Write in your spiral, please. So everybody should be getting to practice number 2. It'd be wise if maybe you work with your table, ask questions, make sure you're writing solve or factor. That's important. I promise you're going to have questions that just ask you what you're doing. Guys, make sure you check your answers, please. Hi, Zoomers. If you have questions, you need to make sure you ask, please. When we come back from Thanksgiving break, we are going to keep adding on to this. Guys, make sure you're checking your answers, please, either on Schoology or with the answer key I provided you. What order is it in? Okay. As long as if I have, if you have a +1, it needs to have a +1 no matter which one it's in, okay? Oops, I forgot to stop recording. Here we go.